There's something you do almost every night. You walk to the kitchen, open the fridge, stand there for a few seconds staring at nothing, then close it and walk away. You weren't hungry. You knew that before you got up. So why did you go? That moment, that pull, didn't come from boredom. It didn't come from habit. It came from something much older than you. Something that was already ancient before your great-great-grandmother was born. To understand it, you have to go back 3 million years. And what you find there will change how you see every meal you've ever eaten. Your earliest ancestors didn't hunt. They waited. A pride of lions would bring something down. They'd feed. Then the hyenas would move in, cracking ribs, grinding through bone. By the time your ancestors crept close, almost nothing remained. Almost. The thick leg bones were still intact, too dense for even hyenas to break. Your ancestors had figured something out. If you grip the right kind of rock tightly enough and swing it hard enough, those bones crack open. What's inside is marrow, dense, fatty, packed with calories, and completely inaccessible to every other scavenger on the savannah. That was dinner. They ate it cold, straight from the bone, with their fingers. They took the skulls too. A single skull holds close to a pound of brain fat, the most calorie-rich substance available in the wild. For someone who hadn't eaten in 2 days, that skull wasn't disturbing. It was the difference between making it to tomorrow and not. This is where your relationship with fat began. Your body still treats it as something precious, something worth seeking. Because for the vast majority of human existence, fat was genuinely rare. Finding it meant surviving a little longer. Insects filled the gap between big finds. Termites, grubs, larvae thick as a finger, white and soft. Your ancestors didn't eat them reluctantly. They sought them out. Reliable protein, available year-round, requiring no hunting skill and no weapons. For over 1 million years, this was a core part of the human diet. Not survival food, just food. Then fire arrived, and the human story changed direction permanently. The oldest evidence of a controlled fire ever found sits inside a cave in South Africa. The ash and scorched bone have been dated to roughly 1 million years ago. Once your ancestors could cook, everything shifted. Raw food is inefficient. Your gut works for hours, breaking down raw protein and plant fiber, and still only extracts part of what's actually there. Heat does a significant portion of that work in advance. Cooked food releases more energy. Your body spends less effort and gets more out of every bite. As cooking became routine, the human digestive system gradually shrank. It no longer needed to be as large. That reclaimed energy didn't disappear. It moved. Straight to the brain. The human brain is expensive. It accounts for roughly 2% of body weight, but consumes around 20% of daily calories. Every single day. Just to function. You cannot sustain that on raw leaves and insects. Cooking is what made the human brain possible. And the brain is what made everything that came after possible. Once that shift happened, the menu grew fast. By 300,000 years ago, humans who looked nearly identical to you were living across multiple continents, hunting horses and bison on open plains, collecting shellfish along coastlines, pulling fish from rivers, digging roots from frozen ground in winter, and hunting honey above almost everything else. There's a community in Tanzania called the Hadza. They still live largely by hunting and foraging, the way humans did before agriculture existed. Studies on their diet found that wild honey makes up around 15% of their total calorie intake. They track individual bees back to hives. They climb tall trees with no equipment. They absorb hundreds of stings and come back the next day. Because wild honey is unlike anything else in nature. Calorie density that nothing else in the wild comes close to matching. Your brain responds to sweetness the same way it did then. Sugar signals 2 things at once: immediate fuel available right now, and the opportunity to store reserves for later. That stored fat was the only buffer your ancestors had against the weeks when nothing could be caught, against drought, against winter, against bad luck. The craving that pulls you towards sweet things isn't a flaw in your design. It's the same signal that kept your ancestors alive through conditions you will never face. Modern food didn't create that signal. It just learned how to use it. Nearly every processed product on the market, bread, cereal, sauces, drinks, is built around the same ancient wiring. The packaging changes. The signal being triggered doesn't. Your body still cannot tell the difference between a honeycomb found in a forest and a bottle pulled from a shelf. Both mean the same thing to the part of your brain running this program. But sweetness wasn't the only craving that got hardwired in. Meat changed the structure of human life. A large animal kill, a mammoth, a bison, a wild horse, could sustain an entire group for weeks. That single event replaced hundreds of hours of foraging, digging, and searching. All of that recovered time flowed into something else, into raising children, into crafting better tools, into sharing knowledge, into the slow accumulation of culture. Big kills didn't just feed people. They created the conditions for humans to become something more than just survivors. That's still in you. Every time your body steers you toward protein, toward meat, toward something substantial, it's running a calculation that was refined over hundreds of thousands of years. Now here's the part of this history that makes most people uncomfortable. Archaeologists excavating a cave in southwest England found human bones from roughly 15,000 years ago. What they found wasn't unusual for an animal site, except these weren't animal bones. The skulls had been carefully cleaned with stone tools. The facial structure and base had been removed. What remained had been shaped, deliberately, into bowls. The long bones had been split open the same way early humans processed large animal bones. Researchers looked for signs of starvation or desperation. They didn't find any. The same cave held the bones of horses and deer. Food was available. A study published in 2017 calculated the caloric yield of a human body. Approximately 125,000 calories. A single bison provides nearly 5 times that amount. A mammoth, roughly 30 times more. From a purely nutritional standpoint, humans were never an efficient food source, which means this wasn't about survival. Similar finds have turned up across Europe, in Germany, France, Spain, Croatia, spread across different cultures and different time periods. Something was happening that we still don't have a clean explanation for. There's one more piece. Preservation didn't exist yet. When a hunter made a kill too large to finish, they buried the excess, packed it into cave walls, submerged it in cold streams. When they came back, days later, sometimes weeks, what waited for them was no longer fresh. They ate it anyway. Researchers studying this believe it may have been partly practical. Decomposition begins breaking down proteins before digestion even starts. The body processes it more easily. Certain bacteria that thrive in aging meat produce B vitamins the human body can't generate on its own. Your body still carries that preference. Every fermented food you reach for is this same process, just controlled. Cheese, aged meat, sourdough, fermented vegetables, wine, yogurt. All of it is biological breakdown slowed to a useful pace. You don't like those flavors despite what they are. You like them because of what they are. Because your biology learned, long before language existed, that a certain kind of breakdown made food more useful. So the next time you feel that pull towards something rich, something sweet, something fatty, something you don't actually need right now, understand what's happening. Your body is not broken. It is running a program written across 3 million years of real consequences, of winters with nothing, of kills that didn't come, of days when the only option was a cracked bone and whatever was inside. It doesn't know your kitchen stays stocked. It doesn't know the season doesn't matter anymore. It only knows what it was taught, over and over again, for longer than civilization has existed. Find the richest thing within reach. Eat. Store what you can. Because the last time your body trusted that there would always be enough, there wasn't. That late-night fridge visit isn't weakness. It's 3 million years of hard-won survival logic, still running quietly in the background, in a world it was never built for.